Hello everyone. I wanted to share with you the beautiful bloom on my Phal, Sogo Vivien. This is one of my latest little miniatures that I've bought. And I was going to talk to you today about my fall fertilizer recipe. Many of you have asked me what I'm going to be doing as far as fertilizing for the fall. And I've kind of come up with a game plan. I've actually had to go through some of my note cards from last year and just kind of rethink what I'm doing. So first of all, just kind of let me tell you that if you are in a place where it's very cold in the autumn, it's going to be a little bit different for you. If you're somewhere where it's going to be very warm this fall, that's going to be different as well. My house is where I grow all of my orchids. They're at a constant temperature between about 70 to 75 degrees. The temperatures outside here in Tennessee have been very warm for fall. So this weekend we're having some cooler weather. So I'm looking ahead to see how I'm going to be adjusting my fall fertilizer regimen. Also, the days have gotten shorter. We're only getting about 12 hours of sunlight per day. So that also calls for a reduction in the amount of fertilizer. So let me show you what I'm planning on doing for my fertilizer this fall. Okay, so here's my game plan. Per gallon of water, I'm going to use 16 drops of CalMag, that's about 50 parts per million, a pinch of salt, just a tiny pinch of Epsom salts. My Better Grow Orchid Plus. Okay, here is where I'm going to have to kind of use my better judgment. Just seasonally, just see how the season goes. If I've got a really, really warm day, I'm probably going to use 1/4 teaspoon. If I've got a cooler day, I'm going to use about 1/8 teaspoon. That's why I have it kind of put down that way. 1/8 teaspoon of my Better Grow is about 100 parts per million. 1/4 teaspoon is 200 parts per million. The reason why I'm giving you a range on this one is several of my phals are spiking right now, and I would really like to go ahead and fertilize those on the warmer days to get those spikes to grow. They need a lot of energy to help them to grow during that time. So if there's a new leaf that's that's growing, if there's a new spike that's growing, and it's a sunny day, I'm going to use that 1/4 teaspoon. If there's not so much going on with that plant, I'm going to give it 1/8 teaspoon. So that's why I say depends on weather, and it also depends on how much active growth I see that phal in. My phals grow pretty much all year long. They grow very quickly in the spring and the summer, and of course they grow slower in the winter, but they still do grow. I get a lot of sunlight in my house, so I have to take that into consideration. Also, my seaweed extract, I'm going to use 20 drops of that. I love the seaweed extract. That is such an awesome form of potassium that helps keep the plant hydrated. Especially when my heat starts kicking in, I want to make sure that I have that seaweed extract because it can dry out the roots to my plants. So I'm going to plan on about 190 to 290 parts per million at this time. I'm going to use that about 2 or 3 times a month. I do like to flush out my pots, so that's the reason why probably about 2 or 3 times a month is going to be enough. I was just flushing out a pot today and I noticed, it needed to be flushed out. There were a few little extra salts that were building up on the side of the pot. So just make sure that you are flushing out your pots thoroughly with clear water. And that recipe is for phals in bark, in moss, and in water culture. I will be using that 290 parts per million for the tester phal that I did a video on a few weeks ago because it's got a new leaf and it's got a new spike. So when you're fertilizing your phals, look and see what the plant is telling you. If it's an active growth still, you're probably going to want to use that 1/4 teaspoon. If it's not doing much, if it's resting, I would only give it about 1/8 teaspoon about twice a month until you start seeing new root tips starting to grow. And another reminder is about your garden lime. I use Epsoma garden lime as a really good source of calcium and magnesium. It comes in pellets, and I just place that on top of the media when I water, and I replenish that about every 3 months. So I was having to replenish some of my garden lime just the other day. So just kind of a heads up, a reminder, if you haven't used your garden lime in a while, with your small pots, I would use about 1/4 of a teaspoon. With your larger pots, 1/4 of a teaspoon, even to 1/3 of a teaspoon is good. It just depends on how large your pot is. I have some gargantuan pots that I put about 1/3 of a teaspoon in. So that's going to provide your orchid with calcium and magnesium throughout the fall, and that is a really good thing. It just helps support the plant. It keeps the new growths strong. So I just wanted to remind you to use your garden lime if you haven't done that this summer. It's about time to do that again. And to finish off this video, I wanted to share with you the beautiful blooms on Sogo Lawrence Tahiti Sunset, still in bloom. I am so happy. I love these blooms. They're very mesmerizing. So I hope that you all are just having a wonderful day, and you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll talk to you all next time.